exactly. I need you to turn up with one, but it's in the locker for if we ever need one.
Let's do it later.
Well, I can't because it's on my desktop at work.
Right, okay.
It was just to do with Rugby League birthday, so it'll be.
Well, we're back to the traditional birthday, so obviously you're going to know all the answers because you've been on the website today, haven't you?
Well, I don't know. We might be in good shape then, eh? Right, let's make some notes. Carry on with you keep talking. You can do it.
Red, Amber and Black podcast at RAB podcast. Another top show this week, gents. Quick question. If you had to, who would your team merge with? Asking for a friend.
Hashtag Red Bulls.
Red Bulls.
Listen, these rumours aren't going away.
What, rumours started and ended on the Bulls forum?
No. There's talk about it elsewhere.
On the comments section of the Telegraph and Argus.
Telegraph and Argus. Hopeful Bulls fans on the terrace.
If we were treating it like a serious question, if my team had to merge with any team, it would be...
who?
Well, for geographical convenience and the fact that they can put 50 points on us, I'd quite happily take the Leigh Centurion squad at the moment. Then send them all off into retirement and keep Jamie Acton to be a nasty fucker up the front because we ain't got one of them right now.
No, and if there was ever a week for Jamie Acton to be an unhinged psychopath that kept his discipline in check, it was against
until the last minute. Bless him.
I know,
and he's still going to get a ban
at that point, though. I think he
couldn't cope.
I feel like someone's had a word in his ear and gone, Jamie, you've done very, very well. Go on. Go on, have him.
Go on, because we've got to go on holiday, so might as well extend it.
This is it. I think they just fucking fine, Jamie. 79 minutes, he's fine. Off you go.
I mean, there's no. It's at the moment it's a silly conversation to have for me, but for you,
I'd form like a West Yorkshire super club and join up with Dewsbury and Batley because they seem they're doing they're doing better than we are. So we could provide them with the young players and we could take some of their older pros like Paul Sykes and maybe see if...
let's go round again.
Exactly, let's go round again. I don't know, look, we're not going to... Who would want to merge with us is the more pertinent question.
Yeah, let's...
so, I don't know.
Let's move on. We've got some lengthier ones now from Facebook.
Looking forward to seeing Craig Kochak back in Red, Amber and Black next season.
We start with Rich Wilkinson. He says, now then, lads, sorry, Mark, if I came across as having a proper go. Not my intention. A lot of the things you said... This is about Easter. Oh, sorry, he goes on. A lot of the things you said are true as to why we have Easter. It's about money revenue, not the player welfare. If the game was in a better state, we wouldn't do it to the players. The acid test is that the players think it's fucked. I enjoy Easter, but don't you think the players should not have to do it? They honestly don't want to do it. Now, you made a point about Origin players. The counter-argument to that might be that there are only a few players from each team, not the whole team backing up. The Origin players also choose to back up. I accept that a few over the years have probably been asked nicely to do it. Some are actually stopped by their clubs and made to sit out.
There you go.
But for a start, I didn't think he was having a go.
No, not at all.
I was put back, weren't I, when he thought I had strong views so much.
You do have strong views, that's good. It would be a pretty dull podcast if you kind of sat on the fence all week.
In terms of a sort of rebuff on the Origin point, kind of the main point I was making around that was the people who were saying it's screwing over our England players by having these double headers. Now the second one, it's a moot point, we're not having it next year, let's all realise that it's not going to happen again. And it happened because of circumstances that fell apart anyway, and probably something should have been done, but it wasn't because it was too late. But anyway, yeah. So it's the Australian team that back up.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? That's the thing. That's the thing with these players backing up from Origin, is it's 3 times, and it's the players who end up playing the games at the end of the season. But it doesn't hurt them as much, not because of backing up in the middle of the season, but because they play 26 rounds. Or
that's it. So
they don't play.
By the end of it, they've not played as many
30
games.
rounds of rugby.
Yeah.
And then, but I still think Easter's managed well enough as a concept that it can work. But that's just my Easter bias, I suppose.
There you go.
Thanks for your views, Rich. Colin Render says, I am in total agreement with you regards to the referees. The BBC 5 Live podcast had a couple of good points from the people on it. John Keir said that teams can get the ref audio commentary of the game so they can see why calls were made. I think coaches should watch and listen to this before criticising officials, and once they've seen it, go through the proper channels if they still have issues with the ref. Complaining through the media doesn't really help the game in many ways. Like you said, it encourages fans to have a go at the refs too. This filters down through the leagues into the junior game. That in turn discourages new or future refs. Did you see that on the top there? I think you did, didn't you?
No, I'm writing names down from what I read this morning.
The quiz is going to be shit this week. Anyway,
Sam Friday! What?
Colin says, I wonder how many actually do this and how many just moan and groan to the media. It's a two-way street where they have to work together to improve. Lastly, chairman should definitely not be criticising the rest of the media. They should be there to run the club and liaise with the RFL on issues before spouting off to the media. Colin rant over.
There you go, that was a good rant as well, and I actually agree with a tremendous amount of what you have to say there, Col. I think we've kind of echoed it.
I'm not sure.
On the show, haven't we?
I get the reactionary stuff and all of that, and John Keir actually explained very well on the podcast, on the BBC podcast, why that happens. Because it's easier to criticise the referees than it is to criticise your own team. Sometimes for coaches in the immediate aftermath of the loss. Now, I think if they're gonna do that, they need to then come out and say, like I've said before, they need to come out and say if they were wrong. Paul Campbell's going to make a counterpoint to that when we get to him in a minute. So, is there anything else on Colin's points there?
No, I think it's a very well constructed. I think I agree with all of it. It's a lot of what we said last week. And particularly the point about the chairman. I'm well on board with that, with chairman jumping out and
well, the point that
referees. Was look, at the end of the day, we're trying to indoctrinate a young generation of players coming through, not just at Super League level, but from kids upwards, to take part in a sport where we pride ourselves on respecting the officials and having them be the arbiter of truth on the playing field. And that is something that we accept and we deal with and we take it like men, and we don't piss and moan about it. And when you've got everybody from the executive level of a rugby league club downwards, pretty much, sticking the boot in on referees, then that is contrary to one of the key values of rugby as a sport, not just rugby league, and it really pisses me off. So that's why I agree with it.
Another thing that Ralph Rimmer said around the whole Derek Beaumont sort of criticism was that he pointed out that Beaumont hasn't turned up to like RFL or Super League board meetings that he could rightly attend, raise these issues to be discussed in a sort of group environment and see who does and doesn't agree. And he said other chairmen have got in touch saying his views don't reflect my views and that sort of thing. So some of that might be political manoeuvring or whatever. I don't think Derek Beaumont had made much of a politician. No. But putting his heart out there and being honest to his feelings is one thing, but sometimes you have to be a bit more circumspect, I would say, and turning up to the meetings where you can make a difference. It's kind of like our whole process of voting UKIP people into be MEPs who just go there and piss around and insult people and don't actually do the job of trying to make decisions that benefit people. So the wider population who relies on that parliament or that board of Super League, and it's kind of like the same thing. Derek Beaumont's got these issues. Go to these meetings, get them discussed amongst the people, the brokers of power who can organise something, follow up on ideas, share opinions, that sort of thing. Paul Campbell got in touch by email. He said a few things from the last show. Player welfare and the Easter period. Most teams have big enough squads to field two different teams or are able to rest at least half the team for each game. So players get some rest, player welfare is looked after. As for too many games, well, it's simple. Get rid of Magic Weekend. The NRL don't have it. Also reduce the playoffs and only have the top four in the playoffs. League leaders in the grand final let 2, 3 and 4 fight out for the other place. But then watch the club moan about not getting enough income. Getting fans to watch game, this I do not have an answer for. If you look at clubs in the Championship, the crowd figures only get worse. I cannot see London get back to the crowds of the past, like 3,000 or 4,000. That won't happen again. Halifax, Fev and others will never get that many either. These clubs will never get them sorts of figures. Only clubs that do are Hull KR and Bradford, who I am hearing bad things about from the other fans. I think it just means Bradford on that count. So if the unthinkable happens and London, Fev and Toulouse get promoted, then the attendances in the Super League will only get worse, and so will the quality of rugby league, and fans will stay away. Attendances will dwindle, and only 4 clubs will be able to sustain the loss of revenue.
Yeah, which doesn't paint a great picture, but it does hinge on the premise that London, Featherstone and Toulouse all get promoted. So I'm not panicking yet, but he does make some
If Toulouse got
points.
promoted, I think they will build their support. I mean, you've got to remember that Catalan's like sort of previous incarnations were not getting the level of support that the Dragons got in the Super League.
True.
And I think Toulouse would pick up a bit more support there. I genuinely do feel like if they were a proper full professional Super League outfit with like a wider media coverage down in the south of France, or that, you know, where they've got the then I think Toulouse would get more.
Yeah.
Fev, it's limited. So much competition in a relatively small populace. You can't ever see them maintaining consistently 8 to 10,000 a week. London, somehow, somewhere, one day, I don't know, could they get back up to the 4,500 that they got in the past? I don't believe it's
inconceivable, is it? The thing is, the thing I love about London at the minute, and the thing I've loved about them for the last few years, since the relegation, is that actually they've lived and existed within their means at a time when they could have been tempted to throw a bit more cash at things. They've assembled 2 or 3 times round, because there's been some fairly high turnover, a very good squad of players, and they just need to get that. And the youth.
I think they need to have it all together for the start of the season next
exactly.
time.
But the other thing that London do, the youth development and the work that the Broncos do, and we see week in, week out from Twitter accounts like London Faithful, and from things that Aaron posts as well when it's talking about Brentwood Eels, and the reach that London have in the community now. That is such a stable foundation to build on as well, that as years go on, hopefully that will start to yield more and more for them as well. So the foundations are there for London to make that journey back. They just didn't throw all their eggs in one basket at one big push for Super League the first year they got relegated.
Is that just speaking from a brand?
It's fucking exactly that, mate, yeah.
Paul's final point. Now, my favourite subject, refs. I have only seen 5 games this year, and to be honest, the quality of refereeing has been pretty good. My question is, though, if fans pay £20 to get in and £35 on travel to a game, and the ref makes some awful decisions, why should the fans not have a moan if their team loses because of the ref? When spending that sort of money, you expect some bloke to do his best and make decisions correctly. As for you saying about Darryl Powell not apologising to a ref, why can't a ref come out and put his hand up and say, yes, I got it wrong? If they did that, maybe players and fans may just start respecting them more.
Well, to a point, Paul, your second paragraph kind of is counterintuitive to your first, because I don't think anyone's saying that fans aren't entitled to have a moan, because that's part of being a fan, isn't it? And if you're hardly done to, you are allowed to moan about the referee. But I think the bigger issue is the persistent, personal, continued digs at them, and the disrespect, and the way and what we're teaching people about how we treat referees more broadly. And then I actually don't mind the idea that if a referee does come out and put his hand and say, I got a decision wrong.
I would say teams don't lose because of the ref, but fans think teams have lost because of the ref. That's the problem. It's the perception of blaming the referee when the referee has probably made fewer errors, fewer significant errors. Yeah. He's just not done what you want him to do, because, Paul, you're a fan. We're all fans. We're all guilty of this.
Of course we are.
We're far more biased than any referee who's ever put a whistle to his mouth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
with complete certainty.
Yeah.
And people can have a moan.
Of course they can.
We don't say don't have a moan. We say don't make the referees the most important factor of any game of rugby league. The second point about refs coming out and saying things, I don't think it will. I think it's very difficult for them. We had something, didn't we? We had the referee's Twitter account.
Yeah.
Okay? What it would do, it would explain decisions that have been made from questions that have been asked about them. It would say where they've got it wrong. No one gave it any respect whatsoever.
No.
The Ask the Ref things ended because of blatant disrespect. If a referee made a decision wrong and admitted they'd made it wrong, they would just get more abuse than if they had not said anything in the first place.
So they've had to
trolley bastards. They've had to scale back, unfortunately, because of fans blatantly and further disrespecting referees and carrying on the pain of a defeat for days afterwards, because they're still not over blaming the referee by Tuesday when they've had a chance to see the decisions again potentially. Probably accept that it was either a 50-50 that went against him, or the referee's admitted to the mistake and he hasn't done it on purpose. But they don't accept they've not done it on purpose, because